whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space and Jeff Bezos, go, never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Boom! Come on, girlfriend. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online conversation in the world for fathers and dads that is co-sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And through that collaboration last year, I was part of a team that reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers worldwide. But that's all that other stuff. It's Saturday night. It's cold in Toronto. I mean, it's cold. I got up this morning and it was minus 28 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit. It was just cold. Didn't matter what it said. It was just cold outside. And funny thing is, it is warming up tomorrow, but we're supposed to be getting a major snowstorm Sunday and then Monday. And that's the Monday is the first day young people are going back to school. So lots of fun. But you know what? Let's think about the present. All we can deal with is the here and now on January 15th, a little bit after 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's about that time for State of Things with Aisha and Jill. So let's bring them to the stage. Here they go. Here they go.
Hola.
Hey,
Hello.
what's going on? How are you?
Good.
How's the week been?
Long.
Yeah. Before we went live, Aisha was telling me about how many meetings did you have back to back one day?
6 on Thursday.
Wow.
That's
a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, Jen Myers. Good to have you as always.
Hey.
6, but you didn't no break?
Like maybe I took maybe breaks in the middle of the meeting. But no.
Wow.
Back to back.
I can somewhat relate. I took a 3-day course. I was from 12 to 4, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 12, and it was intense.
Yes.
But the good thing about it is I have a certification to be an advisor for a business development program called Growth Wheel. It is amazing. And the nice thing about it, there's only 4,000 people in the world that have this designation.
Really? Incredible.
Yes.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Great program. Amazing program. And even better, I didn't have to pay a cent for it. Yes.
That's always good.
Yes. Accreditation without having to pay money, just paying time and attention. Gotta love that. What, Jill Jones, what's going on in your world?
Nothing really.
Nothing?
Been pretty quiet.
You're not going down to Australia for any reason?
No, not at all. No, that's really turned into a real mess, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's even Rafa was saying he's tired of it.
Yeah, at first, what is this? Oh, what tangled webs we weave when first we practice to deceive. It just has turned into which lie do you want to stand by?
Yeah.
Or, I think the Tennis Association tried to push him through. I think they may have given Djokovic some hope where there was none and just thought, oh yeah, they're going to let him through. And I just think they all got played. I mean, and then I thought everybody was playing after a while, but Tennis Australia should be ashamed of themselves for even playing the game with his people to allow him to come and get hung up like that. That wasn't cool either.
Well, I'm sure we'll be chatting about this next week because it sounds like he's not going to get in, but
I
that's a
don't
whole
think
other
he's going to get
conversation.
in. I don't
Yeah,
think so.
We're
it's
talking
good, but
about deporting him.
Yeah, I mean, everything starts tomorrow, so I don't
Yeah.
see, or the day. Well, they're a day ahead of us, so
Yeah.
tomorrow for them, yeah, in
Yeah.
a way, yeah.
Well, let's think about this side of the ocean.
Mhm.
Let's chat about our first conversation topic. U.S. voting rights bill passes in the House, but Senate prospects remain unclear. I have to ask, being a Canadian, why why is it so difficult to allow people to vote in America? Before we start thinking about the political end, what's the impetus of a certain party, Republican, not to say, not wanting this voting right bill passed?
Because it will substantiate them as a minority party. Um, the research shows that more people are the voting public is actually younger, more liberal, more progressive than what the Republicans what Republicans are. And it's like they don't have a platform to run on. So the only thing that they can do to ensure that they win elections is to cheat them. And part of that is voter suppression and making sure that the access to the ballot is denied in many cases.
I have a list here that should shorten it for everybody. So, the Freedom to Vote Act, what it does, it makes Election Day a holiday. It will end gerrymandering. It combats anti-voting laws working their way through state legislatures. It requires states to allow 15 days of early voting, including 2 weekends. Massively expands voting access through automatic voter registration and election day registration, because here we always have to register and check if we didn't fall off or something happened. It increases election security by creating a national standard for voter verified paper ballots, implements a national voter ID standard with reasonable alternatives like utility bills or bank statements. Isn't this what the Republicans wanted, to be able to define who had their voting rights? Requires voting machines be made in the United States. It will protect nonpartisan election officials from partisan interference. It will shine a light on dark money, and it will make it harder for billionaires and special interests to buy the elections. That is what the Freedom to Vote Act does. So that is what they are all. The Republicans don't want people to have, they don't want that.
And the other part of that is that they also don't want the provision that that certain states who have a history of denying people access to the ballot have to be under federal scrutiny before they can even change their voting rights laws by state.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that people are wholly against, because you have to remember a lot of Republicans are very much states' right people.
True.
And our elections are not federal; they're run by states.
Okay. So again, let me just, from a foreigner, don't you have something called a constitution saying that all people who qualify should be allowed to vote? Or maybe I'm taking it out of context.
It does. Well, the truth of the matter is that those are amendments, right? Because initially the vote was for white Anglo-Saxon Christian male who were property owners. And so all of the provisions that have allowed women and people of color to vote, and landholding people to vote, came through as amendments.
True.
So are the Republicans indirectly saying they want to go back to Black people being 3/5 of a person?
They're not
kind of looking like that.
They're not saying the quiet part out loud, but they are definitely moving in that direction.
Yeah. I mean, who wants to take the chance of giving them the opportunity to do that? Just because they're not saying it full on in our faces. I mean, I'm amazed that people would actually give them the ability to dance on our ancestors' graves like that. It's repugnant. It's just vile that we even talk to any of these people. That I mean, honestly, it's amazing. If I lived in the communities where they did, I wouldn't even give them a time of day.
Yeah. And keep in mind, there are 16 Republicans who are serving now who voted to recertify the Voting Rights Act in 2006 under George Bush.
I'm just amazed on this one, right? Why are you suppressing someone's freedom to make a choice in the in one of the most democratic facets of what's called a democracy?
Well,
yeah, but Dr. Vibe. Oh, sorry.
Our electorate is starting to look a lot different too, and that's what worries people. Probably more than anything is that we're turning into a more brown country. And by 2040, we'll be a majority minority country, and people are going to vote for their interests. They're not going to wait anymore for Democrats to get it together. They're going to vote for more progressive leaning people. And if you're a minority party and you want to stop that, the only way that you can really stop that is by making the vote ineffective.
But that, to me, what you just said is something called not democratic.
Right.
Because it's like when everybody's talking about climate change, we don't have a democracy anymore. Barely. It's happening. It's not like when democracy goes away. It's going away if people don't start actively pushing back, because it is happening. It's like climate change. Not when. It's like it is happening.
No.
So that extra stuff that you're buying at the store and for your flooding and everything, the sandbags, you better get some sandbags for this vote, because they're doing stuff right now, in essence, that it's happening. Democracy, it started happening when they attacked the Capitol, and they will chip away every single day. That's all they've been doing. It's happening. They are destroying democracy in the present tense.
And when you sit and think about it, there's 50 states, right? And a bunch of commonwealths and other territories, right? But 49 of the 50 states have tried to pass some kind of voting rights act that will change the access to the ballot.
Right.
And so that should tell you in and of itself how critical this issue really is. And the fact that we have two Democratic holdouts, it's like, even if, make no mistake, the first thing Mitch McConnell is going to do when he takes over the Senate is blow up the filibuster.
Totally. Going to destroy it, get rid of it. Everything that they're kicking back with, he's going to do it. He's the evil victor. He is.
Yeah. And so the very thing, worrying about Manchin and Sinema, I get that they have some amount of control because of the numbers, but Joe Biden needs to lay the law down, tell these two people that we're not playing with them.
He needs to get a bit ruthless. And I was going to ask you something, Aisha. There have been many firsts. I mentioned the last time we were talking about the one thing Donald Trump did. He created a lot of things setting precedents. You know, where does it say that we can't recall Manchin and put their head on and Sinema right now? Because they have gone against, they get money from the DNC to help run their campaigns. Either they need to pay it back because they're not supporting their party, or we need to be able to recall them. I know everybody's trying to get Emily's list to say, hey, we're not going to give you any donors, Sinema, if you don't support this, support.
Well, the reason she's not worried about it is because she's got another 4 years before she is up for election again.
Why can't we find something? There's got to be a loophole to put her head on the block. I know they're all afraid to do it because people, And it shows. They're afraid if they do it, then somebody else will do it to them.
Well, remember,
why can't we recall her just like we recalled Governor Newsom or tried to?
It depends
why
on
can't
the
we
state.
do that?
It depends on the state, because remember,
it's time to let go of some of that old shit. They need to be recalled.
Elections are run by state, so whatever the state law is on recalling is what people would have to follow.
But then how do new laws get made if you don't try to balk them? Then we need to figure out a way to get rid of them. You know, something that has not been done, and they are not part of our party. And I don't really believe that people should be able to flip and still maintain their seats either. That needs to be a law. If you ran as a Democrat and you decide you want to start flipping, you should not be allowed to do that and be able to maintain your seat.
Well, so, Martin Luther King called the problem with the white moderate is that they really stand in the way of justice, even though they on the outside look like they are progressive. They're very moderate in their views. That
absolutely
their viewpoints and their actions are very conservative. They're the antithesis of what being a Democrat is.
Well, and what's his face? Manchin is just a Dixie Democrat. When they go back and say his family was a long line of Democrats, that's a bit concerning, because we know that having a long line of Democrats in your family means somebody was a Peckerwood, okay? And somebody had some racist tendencies. That's just obvious. How far back we talking, Joe Manchin?
I mean, the other part, if he wants to drag that out, the other side of it is Lyndon B. Johnson was also a Southern Democrat.
Yes,
okay,
he was.
But he did sign the bill. So Joe Manchin has some end game, and I don't think it's the one that we can even conceive of. First of all, the man knows he can never run for president. Period. He knows that. So what is his end game? He's not going to end up in anybody's cabinet.
I don't know why his daughter isn't in jail then. I don't know why they didn't put the feet on the fire. There's more ways to take his family down. If we can't get him, let's take them.
Yeah,
let's get the wife. Obviously she's been funneling money. There's something going on. I don't know what it is, but what more can we say? And then Cinema is looking like Madam, not even Madam. She's looking like Dame Edna, trying to run. Says she wants to run for president. I mean, really, and sorry to make poor Dame Edna, as that's an insult to her, but Cinema's up to no good too. We need to figure out. They need to figure out where her money is actually coming from. There's somebody's dirt is in that money, even if it's not her directly. She's taking money from something really shady. So dig into all of her donors. Go hunt into every single aspect of every single donor's life, and you will find something.
So before we continue on, just some comments here. Black Beauty says, hello, virtual hugs, everyone.
Hey.
And Cinema Canella says, hey, hello, beautiful people. Happy New Year. Stay warm. Shall do. And then going back to the early part of this conversation, Black Beauty says, be mindful, Dr. Vibe and fellow Canadians. It's never, and she puts that in capital letters, it's never been the intention for Black and brown people to be equal citizens of the United States. Never. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's true.
Never. It's true.
It's true. They did everything they could to stand in the way.
And now that the whole climate change is coming and there's nothing to stand on, they're willing to give us a piece of what? The whole everything's about to sink into oblivion. And now they're like, maybe some of the Black folks could have some of this.
They can get them their 40 acres in their mule, which are worth nothing.
While we go to the moon,
inflation, right?
While we go to the moon, what a slap in the face. They think they're fooling somebody with those moon trips, don't they?
Well, you know what?
Because who said they thought they found water on the moon? China the other day. They said they thought they found water on there.
Yeah, they're looking for Earth too.
You know, So with our intro, it always catches me that I wonder one day if Jeff Bezos will ever hear what Jill has told him to. I keep on hearing, I wonder if Jeff Bezos, just out of some sort of random, he'd be surfing.
He might have, because dude is wilding out. Did you see that outfit he was wearing? Like he just came out of Boogie Nights. And it wasn't even Halloween. Okay. I was like, okay, boyfriend's going down the road I thought he would go, which is where all rich, egotistical, rich, unattractive men go.
Okay, behave now.
He's not attractive.
Okay, let's get back on track here. So let's talk about food. It was my fault. It was my fault. I put it down that alley. So I'm going to pull it back. So it's past the House. So is it a waste of time?
Chuck Schumer is talking about they're going to go do some kind of vote. But remember, he initially said they were going to vote on King Day. So that plan changed. So, I mean, have a vote for what, Chuck Schumer? So that it can be defeated and then the bill gets tabled? What is the point?
But here's another question I have here, because the states, as you mentioned earlier, Aisha, a lot of the states are passing their own thing. But even if the federal government pass it, if the House and the Senate pass it, if they did that, wouldn't states then go to the Supreme Court to get it overturned?
No, because there would be precedent already, because the 1965 Voting Rights Act, it's really just restoring it. All the pieces that were pulled apart from it, these two acts would just put it back together and make it whole again. So they can challenge it, but I doubt it makes it to the Supreme Court.
Well, you know what? And I'm just going to jump in here. Whether you're watching this live or watching it on replay, many of the people we have watching live and many people watching replay, you're from the United States. How do you feel that your country, your country, is blocking people to vote? Like, I don't know. Something doesn't make sense here. Like,
I think it's easy. I think one of the things that it's not surprising to people, because the country's done this before. This isn't the first time the country has done something like this. And so people that it doesn't affect don't care. They don't care. It's like, well, I can get my vote in. I can vote, no problem. You know, it's not going to take me 7 hours in a line to vote. Meanwhile, you only have one as big as Houston is. You have one drop box for the entire county. Right?
I mean, because people are spoiled in this country. It's like a generation of people might have to actually lose something to know what they miss and don't have. I mean, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, people are more concerned about Kanye West not being able to go to Kim's birthday party for her child today. And they're more concerned about nonsense. Our people in general, we give way too much interest to stuff that will destroy us, that will devour us, and leave us sitting on the sidelines looking like, what happened? Dude, you ain't got no more voting rights. You can't vote. That's what happens. This is where we are.
Yeah.
They're more concerned about that. They're more concerned about a man who's decided to go, that Kanye West has decided to go meet with Putin. So they say.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but they think that's okay. They think his music is so incredible that he's just so amazing that you would sell out your own country. Really?
Well,
it's
go ahead.
Sad. It's sad because
that's our people, what our people get up to. And that's the most frustrating part for those of us who are actually out here working to try to save people and their rights to vote. Because pretty soon
you ain't gonna have any.
They don't even have they're trying to figure out, well, it'll never happen where I'll be back on a plantation or picking cotton. In a very metaphorical sense, it's already happening. How they're parsing off your jobs, how you're basically not working picking cotton, but you're all working at Amazon. That's the plantation. That's it. Can we find a few more? That
Walmart.
these are Walmart.
Yeah.
You're at Walmart.
You know,
that's
that's
the
a very interesting analogy. The digital plantation.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
you are. That's where you're going.
The 21st century plantation.
Yeah.
And you know, the other part that really just bugs me more than anything is like why Democrats feel like they're going to wait until they get enough of a majority in the Senate to pass this. You're not going to, because
No.
the people that need to vote for you cannot get out to vote.
Right.
They can't vote.
Exactly.
It's like it's like I think I'm very incensed by the fact that they're like, oh, guess what? Our voters just have to work harder. No, you need to pass the law.
I agree.
That
You've got to help us help you.
Yeah, you need to pass the law that enshrines our vote, that makes our vote count, that makes our vote sacred. Instead of asking us to do more work, do what? What else can I do as one person? I show up to vote, right?
Yep.
I happen to live in a state that, you know, has some very good voting laws. Okay. But I don't live in Florida.
No.
I can't vote for the right people in Florida to make sure that they are protecting my right to vote. And that's the problem. It's like people, and let's not be fooled. A lot of the people who don't want people to vote are poor white people.
Yeah.
The wealthy are using them.
Yes, to gain their to go ahead.
To gain power.
It's always worked.
It wasn't the elites that were out on January 6th last year.
Right.
It was the poor ones who they give promise to that, oh, we'll make this country better for you. And we do that by getting rid of all these colored people on this country, and, you know, we'll restrict their rights and, you know, give you more power. This is why they don't do anything about the daggone gun laws, because we've got a group of people who feel very emasculated, very weak. And then you take an egomaniac like Donald Trump with a bullhorn in their ears, telling them that, guess what? You have every right to your grievance, when they really don't. And that's how you end up with a country like what we have now, where they try to restrict your access to the ballot.
Okay, well, let's catch up with some comments here. And Jill, you started fun again. Here we got Cinema saying, yep, Bezos is no Jason Momoa.
No, definitely, certainly not.
And Cinema goes, LMAO, he ain't Cinnamon Canal. And then we've got Black Beauties coming in strong. Dr. Vibe, we're used to it. The justice of the Supreme Court have been chipping away at our voting rights bill of 1965 and shining us on by telling us we don't have to worry about discrimination. And then she also says, these undercover racists have always been interwoven into USA. And basically we've been bamboozled.
We have been. I mean, the crazy thing is you see the little games that they're playing, like there's Kristen Sinema walking around with a cross on. Remember, she swore in unaffiliated with any religion. Now this bee is showing up in crosses. Okay, this is how they even play Jesus. So imagine what they're really going to plan to do to us. These are people who use Jesus as a prop. This is the Christian thing. He's a prop. You know, there was a reason that Kristen Sinema's family was living in a car, and she grew up that way, and they should have left them in the car. Maybe karmically, they needed to stay in the car. Maybe there was something they deserved in their karmic life that they needed to always be in a car. Sometimes I often wonder when I'm giving somebody a helping hand, like, am I messing with their karma? Because this whole everything has become a little bit too much for me, because the fact is, I am watching Black people begging for voting rights from Plantation Karen, also known as Kristen Sinema, and and jumping high yellow plant, not high yellow, Mr. Whatever, but he probably does have it in his family. Joe Manchin, who is like the slave owner. I mean, these people, we might as well just dress them up in the outfit from the 1800s, because that's where they're freaking comfortable. That's where they're comfortable. And I, just think that everybody should just start going, hey, how you doing, Mrs. Cinema? That, I don't know if humiliation works on them. I don't know what will work, but I'm telling you, the problem is that they are very comfortable with their racism, with how they could sit there and look at John Lewis in his face. It makes me sick how she's got to take a picture with him and stand there with her smug, ugly face and talk about my friend.
Yeah.
Bitch, you don't even know what a friend is. You better be a fucking friend. I mean, I'm like, it's ridiculous. And the fact that anybody gives her any attention in Congress makes me sick to my stomach. Sick.
She does more than travels to her own beat. Okay. There's something.
She's dangerous. She's dangerous.
She is very
She's
dangerous.
the freaking white woman who calls the slave, that Mandingo thing, and then gets him lynched. That's her. That's who she is.
Think about
white woman.
Think about her
nasty
and the other chick that were running for that Senate seat. Okay, it was a no-win. Period. Her or Martha McSally.
I don't know who she was sucking off, but she did something. But she did, because that old rubber-looking bitch did something. Fucking Gumby ass.
Okay, Jill. Okay.
Hot. I'm hot.
Yeah, I can tell.
I'm hot under the collar about her. I mean, honestly, Arizona, what were you all thinking? She represents them, and they're going to sit up there and people, Black people, we're sitting up here begging these two cunts to do this, to give us voting rights. That's enough for us to just be like, okay, we done. We done. As Black folks, we fucking done. No more talk. Y'all don't want to give us voting rights? Next. Let's move on to the next topic, because this is a real slap in the face. And I'm really serious, Dr. Vibe, because that's the level that, what we can level up. We can level this whole conversation up. Okay. How dare you deny us that? How dare you? Okay. How dare you?
All right.
And that's what they need to be saying. How dare you?
Well, I think we've covered the first topic quite intensely, and we were I think I'm going to follow up with this one, and we're going to have this as our third topic, but I think this goes in rather nicely. U.S. federal prosecutors call into fake GOP electors poll.
Rachel Maddow did such great coverage of this, showing that in the battleground states that a bunch of Republicans got together and put some paperwork together to say that they were the real electors. And the thing is that the papers that they used were the same. They were identical in each state, when each state has their own, certificate for doing the electors. But the electors should have been Biden electors. They were already seated. But these Republicans went around and put together these pieces of paper to basically say that they're the electors to cast a vote for Trump. And it's like the fact that they've gotten away with this, it's public now, and Merrick Garland has not done anything. That is best.
Why did you surprise me with that statement?
No.
At best, it's fraud, right?
I think it's rather interesting. It's rather interesting that the party, again, looking from where I'm sitting, the party that wants to suppress voting is now being accused of having fake electors.
Right. Remember that?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that there were no people who were ashamed to sign that. they actually
They
signed
still
it with their real names.
Mhm.
And mind you, they can each face charges, which I think, what was the charge, like up to 20 years in prison
Right.
per offense?
See, my whole thing is they don't arrest people anymore. Why not arrest first, and like they do with people of color, and talk about it later? That goes for even everybody who's not showing up for a subpoena. Like, hey, wait a minute, we're not clear on what we're doing, but we're going to arrest you and we'll talk about it later. Let's do that. Let's treat them the way they treat us. Somebody needs to get a wagon and put these people and hog tie them and take them to jail, because it's so clear that, law enforcement is not being allowed to let them enforce the laws. You don't show up for a subpoena. Well, should the rest of us not show up across the board? I don't think that's going to work. These electors probe, I sometimes imagine Merrick Garland is the only one working in the office, and he's tinkering around with some things and tinkering here and tinkering there. And oh my God. And, I'm overwhelmed. He's starting to turn into the guy from, what was that Michael J. Fox movie where they went back to the future?
Back to the Future.
Yeah, he's starting to turn into the professor. Damn, it's like, I don't know. Like, what are you doing? You looked pretty good the other day. You arrested the Oath Keepers. Okay, we got that. But can you ride a bike and chew gum at the same time? I mean, this is a job after all.
So Black Beauty is saying, yes, ma'am, Aisha. They even notarized the paperwork, and Aisha's correct, and they've not been charged.
I mean, how's that possible? What she just said, Aisha, is like, she's right. How is this possible? I've seen people who've written bad checks get arrested quicker than this.
Yeah, true.
Like, yo, this is our government.
This is the democracy.
Damn. Yeah, is it ain't? Because the truth is, it's like, yo, this is some craziness.
And not only that, Rachel Maddow covered it 4 nights in a row. Not one peep out of the DOJ, okay?
Yeah.
Not one peep. Not even Merrick Garland saying, oh, I'm going to look into this. No, act like it didn't even happen.
I'm trying to understand how these folks have raised their own kids at home. This is why the world's the way it is. This is like, these are the parents that allow your kids to put a lock on their door and slam the door on their parents. I'm not going to go in and look through Timmy's stuff because that would disrespect his rights. That's this group, right?
Air rifle.
This is that crew of parents, and I'm like, if you can't parent properly, then you sure the hell can't be running a country.
What they say is, if it ain't right at home, it ain't right outside the home.
Absolutely. I mean, for real, because look at the way they treat these like stupid idiots who they forged documents about an election, and nobody's gone and arrested them.
Language. They use the same identical language, same font. Okay.
Oh, wow.
In 6 states.
It's unreal. Nobody has pulled up curbside. And here's the crazy thing, you guys, all the movies we've watched, the ones with George Clooney, the ones with Jason Bourne, all of that, we never had a government like that at all. That's the whole thing. We never had a government who was anything like those movies.
We do now.
But I'm saying we never had an efficient government that, Jason Bourne is like, yes, I'm over here. And they're like, Jason is in Thailand right now. Or they did this, and, Michael, whatever, would pull up, and we don't have that. It never existed. And for a long time, I guess lawmakers have known, oh, that's just crap. That doesn't exist. The intelligence community isn't on top of stuff like that. They're like, what happened?
Because they also then tried to send these fake electors to be counted. Okay.
No. Oh, remember
on January 6th.
They showed up in just impersonation. So isn't that called impersonating another human being?
Well, they know, because they weren't impersonating anyone. They showed up as themselves.
Oh, but they weren't electors, but they're still impersonating electors.
They were
and that's not a crime.
Right.
And then they crossed counties and states to do it. Oh, who is enforcing the laws in this country? I'm telling you, something happened.
Like, I still have to get over the same party who wants to suppress is now being accused.
Electors.
Like, and their ex-president said that the Democratic Party was the one who did this.
Oh, he's always pointing a finger.
Remember, he also said that we had the most secure election in history in 2020, right. But the very few fake votes that got through, was it like 6 of them, were for Trump. So what does that say?
Look, Donald Trump is the type of guy that is always deflecting on other people so much that he can't even have an orgasm himself because he's looking at the other guy, and that's the guy who he's saying is having it. Okay. He doesn't even feel anything.
There's a question here from Black Beauty. Is USA really going to be up to the task of actually arresting the quote establishment? My God, who of them would be scathed from prosecution?
Unscathed from prosecution. I don't know. I don't know if anybody at this point.
Well, let's put it this way. There has been a number of people arrested due to the January 6th insurrection, but it's still a whole lot of people aren't. So if they haven't got to them yet, I don't think, who knows what happened to these people?
If they don't get to them by April, forget it. Because come January, was it 2nd or 3rd, 2023, it's all over.
Yeah.
If they don't, and here's the sad part. You would think that they would be working harder on the voting rights piece, because that's the only way that they're going to win.
You would think that our senators and stuff would be putting more pressure on the DOJ, only because they need these people out of the mix so they can get on with stuff. You can't have these dangling old pieces of crap hanging around in buildings and infrastructure. They need to clear the debris. These people are debris. Clear them out so we can get to the bottom of things. That's what I'm saying about the DOJ. Please clear the debris from the walkway, at least, so we can get on with trying to establish a foundation for even just running a country. Because right now, if you'd have gone after somebody who doesn't respond to a subpoena, if you would actually move your behind, it would impress upon other people, and other legislative things can move forward. At this point, they should throw every bill on the table so that everybody gets to see that the Republicans don't want people to have anything. And that is what they need to do. They need to have this bill so it gets stopped, then this one, and this one, and this one. Because otherwise, if they keep waiting on Merrick Garland, please, Lowell, please.
Here's the dumb thing. When Democrats,
it's like I'm starting to feel this is very.
Do you know, though, when Democrats did the first reconciliation bill, they should have rammed voting rights in it, period. Because at that point, they had all of the Democratic Senate.
No, they thought it was the money they could get things passed over on, and they got played again. And I'm tired of being with the dumb party, because, it's like, wise up, people. You're really not. You're a little bit more crafty than you're letting on. And y'all do some stuff in the dark of night that I know you can do. So please do it. Do it. Get ruthless. This isn't, this is not like, my foot would be black and blue if I was Joe Biden. I actually would probably have to have a cast on it by now.
And this is the one thing, is that everybody gives Joe Biden so much credit for his work in the Senate and being able to rally votes. But that was a different Senate.
Exactly. That's a different time.
He's playing a Senate game, though. And that's the problem. He's playing the game as if he's still a senator, and that of like trying to get everybody on board. And he hasn't realized you're the goddamn president. And there's a big difference.
You can't be bipartisan with people who who have no interest in being bipartisan.
He comes from the negotiating world of trying to whip everybody in shape so that they all jump on board and you have those anomalies. He's yet to figure out that That's not how this game's going to get played, because these parties are very well established, and he's going to have to play a different game.
Well, not
And
only that,
the control of the Republican Party rests in those far right people. They have the control of this particular party. So it doesn't matter. Look, you would think that Mitch McConnell could even think somewhat common sense. Mitch McConnell has surrendered the party to these people. Okay, it's like Lindsey Graham has surrendered the party to these people. They know it's not the same.
Right.
And what we need is for Democrats to get on the ball here and realize, guess what?
He needs to ask his son for some advice about some of those folks.
You're not going to be able to, persuade them over to your side. They don't want to. They want to be as contrary as possible. Period.
He needs to ask his son for some dirt on all those folks. I have a feeling old Hunter might know a few things about some people, and they need to get down and dirty, because this is where Joe isn't really maybe as scrappy as he might need to be.
Well, and I appreciate Mr. Biden saying like we can bring people together, but he doesn't realize how
this isn't
divided.
kumbaya.
No, it is the country's so. Not only is the House and the Senate divided, but the country's divided. So you know what? You've got to realize that you reach a point of no return, and that you got to get things passed. You got to go get a mandate passed.
His first responsibility right now, in my opinion, is to the people who voted him in.
Yeah.
If the other people don't want your love,
that's what his predecessor did.
Then he needs to do it for us.
He didn't care about anybody else.
Yeah, you can't crap on us after we did everything we did for you. And I'm getting really tired of going to the mat like this. It's like, you better show me some love. You better show it, because this is not, I don't need you to show it to these other hoes. They're done. We don't need them, but you need to show it to us, because we busted our back. Some of us went out during COVID and helped get you elected. We do not deserve this. And you better freaking stand by us, because these people want to exterminate us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, it's like you develop this apathy in the base. You're going to start seeing what Democrats might end up having the lowest poll numbers from November, because we haven't seen anything. We've been given a list of promises.
Yeah,
we
but
showed up for that.
Aisha, when we talked about this before we went live, though, is it because now look at the way the American government is set up? Things can get passed in the House, but they go nowhere in the Senate. So it's not, unless even when the previous president had a majority in the Senate and the House, things didn't get passed. He couldn't even get a lot of his things passed.
But he didn't have things that he really was trying to get passed. Remember, a lot of his things were just provisos and recognizing of different things. Remember, the Republican Party had no agenda. The only thing that he wanted to get through was the tax cuts, which he got to wealthy business people, which he did get in 2017, overwhelmingly by the Republican-run Senate.
Right.
And so that was the only thing that he had in his mind, that and the judges. And he appointed all those judges.
Well, hey, those are two big things.
He did it very cleverly, because on one hand, he's acting out of sorts in public and having everybody thinking he's crazy in this. Meanwhile, he's putting these judges in place.
Yeah, that
overturn.
Like him or not, that was a brilliant stroke of politics. Because what he's did is he's impacted American politics and societies for years.
A generation.
Right?
Entire generation.
So in some ways, he doesn't have to run again. He's still going to be in power. He doesn't have to be in the office. He's indirectly got the tentacles out all over the place.
Yeah, and remember, these were lifetime appointments.
That's it.
So for a generation, he's controlled how things will be ruled on.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that Trump is trying to deal with supervisors of elections.
Yeah, and that's why Mitch McConnell has been very go along to get along, because his whole thing was to get the judges.
Yeah.
So he went along with the craziness because it got him what he wanted. And that is that is something that's very remarkable to say about one political party in this country, is that they're willing to even accept the crazy in order to get some kind of power.
Yep. Of course. It's all
it-
about power.
But there's something very interesting. You know, there was a rally tonight in Arizona for Trump, and the rally is to get them to decertify the election.
Oh,
which here's the part. This is the crazy part. That cannot legally happen.
Right.
But he's got his people thinking that it can.
well, speaking of 45, and I sent during the week, Aisha and Jill, whenever I have see anything interesting on it, I just put oh my ... And one of my oh my's ... this week. If you haven't had a chance to listen to this, folks, please put interview with 45 and Steve Inskeep of NPR. You want to hear a very interesting 7 minutes of conversation? You check that out. You check that out, because he actually asked for 4 years to get an interview with 45, and they went back and forth, and 45 actually hung up on him. So if you want some interesting audio material, go check it out. Very interesting.
So interesting thing to also mention, which has been barely mentioned, is that Democrats have won a wave of special elections in Maine, Massachusetts, Virginia, and Florida this week.
Oh.
And just so we know, that's a very good start to 2022. And so if you want to go and look up and see what's happening, there's some more primaries that are in March in Texas that are starting, and some early voting going on. But the Ohio Supreme Court rejected GOP drawn congressional districts. That was a win this last week. So that was amazing. They threw them on their noses. So the GOP and their redistricting, which is old Jim Jordan, right? That's his turf.
He's still around.
Not for long.
Jacket wearing.
yellow
tie
and blue.
tie.
Everything's bad.
Okay.
You know.
Let's move on to our next conversation, because we're heavily politics this week. Next up, Mr. Kevin McCarthy says he won't cooperate with the 1-6 panel.
This shouldn't have even been a letter. Okay, they sent him a letter asking him for his voluntary participation. No, you send that man a subpoena, because you know that he's going to say no.
He's a joke. And that's a joke that they sent him a letter
to a voluntary request.
Right. Symbolism.
No, at this point,
symbolism.
At this point, subpoenas need
they
to
still
go
keep
out.
Trying to be nice, and it falls on deaf ears. We're not looking for them to be the high road. We're not looking for the Michelle Obama thing when they take the low road or the high road. Ain't nobody trying to do that. We're fighting. Our freaking nails are falling off. We ain't trying to be higher or lower. This is, we're all like starting to look like Dobby from freaking Harry Potter. We're like skin, we're worn out. We're like, we want this done. Get that,
results.
Man.
You want receipts.
Yeah, we want results. It's like,
and here's the thing: if they do not follow the order of the subpoena, people need to go to jail. Have them
immediately.
Arrested.
Too sweet. Too sweet.
But okay, so here's now. Educate me, both of you. Can they send him to jail for not
for this? Not for this, because it wasn't a subpoena.
No, it wasn't a subpoena.
It was a letter that was a voluntary request.
Yeah, and it was a waste of time. And in my mind, it's a waste of time. Come on, brother, who's running the committee. Don't do that.
You knew that he was going to say no.
Don't even. Ain't nobody trying to play that. Don't play me wasting my time to stall for another week. You wasted a week with that one.
You still have yet to pick up Mark Meadows. I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and Blue Rain says when the Republicans go low, Democrats need to go lower.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, clearly McCarthy has let it slip some of what happened in those conversations. Now he's trying to clean it
Loose
up.
lips. He was scared as
He's trying
hell.
to clean it up. But notice when he was scared, he had all the guts in the world, big balls out, talking all kinds of stuff about how Trump was, dead wrong and he was responsible and whatever.
He sang like a bird. He was so
then by that weekend, he was over in Mar-a-Lago kissing Trump's ring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
true.
Exactly.
That's true. So do you think they'll eventually get McCarthy to testify?
No. McCarthy's going to just become a real relic because we're going to get rid of McCarthy out here in California. He doesn't know it yet, but he's gone. He will not get revoted in. And he's going to start, what's going to happen is I do believe we're going to keep our positions and maybe grow them even more. I know it looks bad, but we're getting ramped up and we know what this is about. It's okay. But McCarthy, it just can't go on. Everybody's luck has to run out sometime.
Now, I think McCarthy doesn't realize how weak he is, really, because all it's going to take is for Trump to say one horrible thing about McCarthy, and then he's done, as far as his votes are concerned. But then again, McCarthy is not going to be speaker. Period.
Never.
He doesn't. He lacks the balls because even if Republicans took over the House,
right,
you've got too many of those loud ones like Boebert and bobblehead Boebert and Matt Gaetz and
what's happened to Gaetz? I haven't heard a thing from him recently.
Right.
Is he still? What's he still puttering around?
Well, they were talking about earlier this week that his ex-girlfriend, testified against him. Yeah, so he's got his own trouble. But those people there are not going to vote for Kevin McCarthy.
No.
If anything, those people will go for that Elise Stefanik before they go for Kevin McCarthy.
Oh yes.
Remember, she took over Liz Cheney.
Yes. You're right. Wow. It's messy. I think this January 6th commission is past its effectiveness. It's gone on too long.
You might be right. I think so too. They should have already had it on television and they haven't. They're stupid.
Well, it's just like, the time lapse has been, and every day it goes on, people think about it less and less. And again, the Republicans are playing a good game here.
Here's the dumb part, though. Democrats should have run on January 6th in 2020. Democrats should have, that was 2021 that happened. But Democrats should have started doing campaigns already last year about 1/6 and why it's so important that Democrats retain control of the House and the Senate.
But I don't think people have. I just don't think that most of the American people really care. I mean, we have a really bad situation just with the masses of people that they're amoral. Most of the people in this country appear to be pretty amoral. Legit amoral, only care about their TV shows and everything else. They have no decency. We're really at a problem where culturally the only people who've been actually paying attention to garner more power have been the conservatives. But the ones who are out there doing whatever they want, and there's something really legitimately wrong with people who go about their business and don't want to be bothered by the burden of, I'm upset that there were school shootings, but I can't get involved. We have so many people that disconnected and checked out of their American country. They don't even hold it in high regard when somebody goes and destroys your capital. Why? Well, we do have a number of situations with just the fact of looking at all of our public buildings, it have become like public housing and homeless people sleeping on them and shitting on the steps of every court. It's like, how can you expect anybody to give a damn about something if you never did? How? I mean, honestly, it's just eroded and people just stop looking. I go downtown, and if I want to go to a court building, it's like I've got to step over mounds of feces to get in to serve jury duty. Human feces. And if you don't care about what happened to the visuals of your Capitol, if that's in your mind, and we've all lived with this and taken it in, and we deny that it exists, ain't nobody really giving a damn. It's a building in their minds. It's just a building.
So
it means nothing to us.
Black Beauty is saying concern is actual prosecution of the Oath Keepers. Will the DOJ Garland initiate subpoenas for treason for senators I don't know what that convictions for treason to include 45. From where I'm seeing,
that's the whole point, though, right? That we're looking through right now. It's like, is Merrick Garland going to start trying these people or charging them with sedition like they did the Oath Keepers? Because basically what they're I'm wondering, how much more proof do you need? You've got the actual people who were there saying, look, we met with these people, these members of Congress beforehand, and they gave us tours. Or better yet, the Capitol Police who were taking pictures with rioters. Okay, at some point, we've got to really just kind of back up from the lies of what happened that day and get on with the truth. And the truth of the matter is that we had a political party try to overthrow the government because the election didn't go the way that they wanted it to. And it wouldn't have gone the way that they wanted to because 8 million more people voted for other candidate. So it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if, if you're complaining, no, the race was stolen. How do you get over 8 million votes? 8 million. That is not something that happens by chance. And this part about it being the big lie being that, oh yeah, all these Democrats did cheat. And we have to stop using the language like, oh, half this country is conservative. No, it's not. Because half the country did not vote, because more than half the country voted for Joe Biden and not Donald Trump.
But we have to stay engaged. Yeah. If we cannot just vote and then check out. Unfortunately, this requires a lot more attention than we thought possible. Yes, there was a time when we could know that, things were, this has gotten off the hook now. It's absolutely like it needs more attention and time. Yeah. And not just with Twitter or whoever. I sometimes find these things to be a little bit defeating, but I think we really have to get more young people involved in this aspect and make sure people are voting and really make sure people are able to even get to the polls to vote.
Yeah. And here's the sad part is that the DNC is already behind the 8 ball on raising money for these races. I mean, if it's sad that, think about it, the Republicans have so much money that
they do
that they can pay for Donald Trump's lawyers.
Yeah,
for things that have nothing to do.
I mean, it's carte blanche
with
for
his
him.
time as president or any kind of campaign. They're literally raising money.
But that should show how much they're putting to money they're spending to fight against our needs. But Democrats are also always trying to play it but by both ends because they don't know, well, maybe I'm going to need that donor, so I'm not going to expose them. They need to throw them all into the fire and take a chance, because the reality is we need to know who they are and we need to see the connections. And I don't know if somebody can put together a PowerPoint or a graph or something or do some meme work, but there are plenty of people who are talented in the Democrat world who work in graphics, and people would surely definitely contribute all that they can. If
But
you
remember,
just find
that's
the right
the point.
people.
That was the whole point in people setting up super PACs.
Yeah.
Was so that there could be no reporting and no record of who these
well, maybe some people
are
going to have to go undercover. Like there were a few young journalists who did that and exposed a few of them. Maybe that's what's going to have to be, you know.
No.
We're going to have to go on the offense with Republicans the same way that they destroyed Acorn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We have to do that, because remember, think about it. Acorn didn't deserve what happened to it. They just did that because why? It was getting people registered to vote for Barack Obama.
Well, it's been a spirited conversation. We're gonna let me just say here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a bit of a break, and then we're gonna come back after the break, and we're gonna talk about a very important person in not only American history, but I think world history. This Monday is Martin Luther King Day in the United States, so we'll do some reflection about the life of Martin Luther King and the life of the United States during his life and after his life, especially racially. We'll be back in just a moment. Go. So, ladies, what is going on?
Just that he needs to get it together.
Sick of that. I am sick of it.
Something is seriously wrong with you.
Is that, I mean, why is he still there?
She shouldn't be near Congress.
You need an exorcism, because I don't know what is wrong with you people.
It was so powerful.
And I really wish everybody would stop bowing down to this.
What is he talking about? This makes no sense.
They know they are not the oppressed party, but they love being the superior ones, and they want to flaunt it.
So it was always made political, particularly for people of color and the LGBTQ population.
We end off every episode with a cockroach. This episode's cockroach.
Everything.
Everything?
All the things are going on.
All the things?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are back. Jill will be back with us in just a moment. So when she comes back, we'll kick it going. And thanks for everyone, again, for watching us live or on the replay or listening to us on replay. Appreciate not taking granted. Jill is back with us. There she is. I'm just going to put her where she needs to be. There we go. So we're going to end off our conversation today with memories of Martin Luther King Jr. It is Martin Luther King Day coming up this Monday and the 17th. Ladies, thoughts, remembrances about Martin Luther King, and how has America either stayed the same, regress, or progress since the civil rights days of Martin Luther King?
Well, clearly we've regressed if we're still fighting for the same Voting Rights Act to be enforced that Martin Luther King fought for, right? So we've regressed quite a bit. I think when we look at the issue of race in America, when you have to think about the fact that we've got school boards trying to ban U.S. history for this fact that, oh my gosh, it's going to make my tender white kids feel so, bad about what their ancestors did, without getting the lesson that the reason we teach history this way is so that people do not repeat the mistakes of the past. When you look at the fact that we had an insurrection that was made up majority of white males, okay, angry, disaffected white males, you look at video footage from that day and you compare it to video footage of kids integrating schools, and you see the same kind of violent mobs. It's not like anything has really healed. More so, it just went somewhere, and we stuffed it under the rug so much, and like it's not polite to talk about it anymore out in the open, and it just got under there, and the bump under this rug festered and just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden you have somebody like a Donald Trump come and like pull the rug off the mess, and the mess is just going all over the place. And that's where we are right now.
Jill?
Well, I think that a lot of people feel like when we talk about Martin Luther King, they have these images of like, you know, the hoses on Black people sitting at counters and all of that stuff. So, and they always see it in black and white, which is really interesting. When you view something from black and white, it's almost like it never happened. I think that we oftentimes forget that this was in real life, real time, and there were people living in living color going through these day-to-day, trying to go to school, trying to, you know, eat or whatever. When I think about all of that and the solidarity of the bus boycott and all of these things where they really stood by each other, it was just a blip, a glimmer of time. But it's existing because it looks like those brave souls. We have a situation where our United States Congress is about to hand the keys back over to the people that killed someone like Martin Luther King and someone like Malcolm X and all of our, you know, Medgar Evers. They're handing the keys over, and our people are not paying attention. That's what there is an exchange of power that's happened here, and more has to occur. We have to fight harder because, unfortunately, I don't really believe that it can just be done in the way that, you know, in this nice, happy way. I think we've really got to reassess where we are as African Americans living in this country and really understand that there's a changing of the guards happening, and we need to pay attention because it's happening. They've infiltrated our law enforcement. These were all things that Dr. King spoke about. And our generation of youth are so ignorant about everything that he contributed, unless it's in a rap song. I don't even know if they really know anymore. I don't know if he is, you know, the beacon of leadership that we don't have any leadership like that anymore. They killed it all out of our leaders. We don't have that.
And remember too, Martin Luther King's approval ratings at the time of his death were the lowest ever. So you have all these people talking about, oh, I love Martin Luther King and da, da, da.
They didn't before?
No, you didn't.
No.
Because he wouldn't have had
They're
a
afraid of him.
20% approval rating in 1968. Okay.
Right.
And
you know, they make it sound like
you tried to kill him.
They make it sound like it was, and by them really reframing how they were, reframes the concept of this man walking out of his house every day with death threats and death threats to his children and his family. So the more they reframe the Lindsey Grahams and the Joe Manchins and all of them about how much they loved Dr. King, they're lying. They're bullshit. Because the reality is it takes away and diminishes just how great he really was.
I mean, think about it. Remember, Arizona for the longest time would not adapt the federal holiday.
No, they wouldn't. So we shouldn't be surprised. Part of that was
on John McCain.
Yes. So that's another one who sat up there speaking out of both sides of his neck. That's why it was always really tricky for me to really have any kind of feeling for John McCain. Really, you know, yeah, okay, you did good for the, you know, health thing, whatever. But what did you get from that? Because, you know, I don't know. It's like, he spoke out of both sides of his mouth, and he's another one that married up.
See, my state has been celebrating King holiday since before the actual law.
And today's his actual birthday, by the way.
Yes, it is his birthday.
Today.
And, you know, so for me, nothing has changed. And in fact, it just shows us how much more important he really is, and how, you know, how a lot of people always wanted to change that into like, oh, he didn't believe in fighting. He didn't, you know, he was, you know, they're not reading everything he spoke about and paying attention to his lectures. You don't get to tell us what Dr. King said. You don't. And if anybody's in doubt or in question, go read some of his later speeches and even some of the earlier ones. Let's stop with it didn't just stop with, I have a dream.
Yeah.
There was some actual solution-oriented material there that, unfortunately, this country failed to recognize. And his death contributed a lot to why no one trusts anybody in this country. And white people too.
And here's the thing too about his death, because remember, there were other attempts made on his life for years.
Absolutely.
But in 1968, you have to remember Martin Luther King, why they had to get rid of him. There were two things. The first thing was that he was very vocal against the Vietnam War. That was the first thing. Yeah. The second thing was that he had moved into labor and organizing.
They didn't like
labor.
that. Look what they did to
and
Jimmy
they didn't
Hoffa.
like that because it wasn't just organizing Black people at this point. It was organizing all people who were workers to unionize and to get worker protections. And that's why he was in Memphis when he was murdered, because of the garbage men strike. And so it's not by accident that, after the bus boycott, after the Civil Rights Bill of 64, after the Voting Rights Bill of 65, that he doesn't get assassinated until 68. Why? Because he's vocal about the war and he's trying to mobilize working people to organize and really kind of check the elite class in this country.
And they still keep trying to drag in this Betty Moitz that he had a supposed affair with. And I'm sorry, I don't believe it, and I never will.
Well, here's the other part of it too, is that
they've just tried to sully his name.
If he had an affair, it doesn't take away from the work that he did.
I don't give a damn. I'm not giving her a leg up on anything. That is not the point. You're right. The whole thing is, I don't care. And I don't really believe he did, because after seeing that they would stoop so low to kill this man, well, imagine some old tramp. I don't really care.
No. Right. We got some comments here. Black Beauty saying, personally, I think Dr. King, Malcolm X, and John Lewis would be spinning in their graves. For these beautiful, insightful, strong men took our race as far as they did. For us to be where we are right now is sad.
Talking about Kanye West and his bullshit ass.
Black Beauty saying again, we are almost likened to Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit on the Trees. And Debbie is saying here, Dr. King was a powerful and peaceful soul. And also saying all great men were being killed in the 60s.
Totally.
Yeah.
So unfortunate. Well, I don't know. We're still not looking at voting rights in 2022.
No, wow. And yet we sent men over to Afghanistan to establish voting rights for them. Are you joking? I mean, think about that. How many men lost their lives to try to establish something that they're taking away from us here?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, please. Dr. King, you did your best to make the world a better place. And wherever you are, we salute you.
Yeah.
So let us leave it at that. It's another internet conversation called Staggers State of Things. State of Things. I keep on getting that wrong. You're waiting for me to mess up these days. State of Things with Aisha and Jill.
Staggers State of Things is good, you know.
No, it's State of Things.
No.
Aisha
does not. On it.
Yes, we agreed, and I keep on having that brain fart. You know what I'm saying? So another great conversation, and looking forward to more as always. Before we let the ladies go, we asked them, how can you reach out to them? So first things first, Jill Jones time.
Twitter is good, Jill D. Jones, or on my Instagram, Is it Jill Jones Music? Yeah, at
Yes.
Instagram.
It is
Yes.
Jill Jones Music. It is. That
Yes.
I do know. That I
Yeah.
do know. And let's go over to Aisha K.
Aisha Staggers on Twitter, AK Staggers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's see, and Jill knows that too. Oh, wonderful. That is good. And me, best place you can get a hold of me is at the drvibeshow.com, the Dr. Vibe Show. And I'd like to say thanks to everyone who came on today. We had a great conversation. Like they're getting more into it these days. I love it.
Yeah.
Election time is coming around the corner.
That's true.
Yes, just want to say thanks to Jen, Debbie, Black Beauty. Again, Black Beauty, when you're coming on live, you're dropping some serious knowledge bombs here, but you're just doing it behind the digital curtain. Blue Rains, Cinema Canela, you know.
Diakita, that's a pretty name.
Yeah, Diakita, Christina.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say thanks to everyone who made it an epic conversation tonight. And I'm going to come back on main screen. Here we go. Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018, Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. As always, we want to say thank you for watching live on the replay or listening on the replay. We end off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And catch us next Saturday, 9 p.m. State of Things with Aisha and Jill. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good. And give yourselves grace.